Hope you're doing great. Hope everything's good. Thomas, good morning, Bitcoin's chosen people. The cover looks like Oakland, California. Maybe. It was just one of my chat GPT ones. I'm trying to make it look like Texas. I was trying to inspire a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, as I usually do with my images, right? They're supposed to be on theme. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Thanks, Vaughn Ray. Love the name, Vaughn. It's awesome. Good morning. Sun's out, guns out. Indeed. The sun, well, we'll get to that. We don't got no sun around here. T-Dog Yo-Yo. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning, T-Dog. Tom. Good morning, friends. Love it. Friends indeed. Bomatang. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Thanks, B for victory. We love it. Good day from the sunshine state where Bitcoin's potential lights up our horizon. King Mansa Musa, you got some good ones every morning, man. I love that you love Florida. I love Florida. It's such a great place. Good morning, Bitcoin. Thanks, Defina. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, Christine. Indeed, good morning. Good morning, all you beautiful people. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks. I appreciate it, my man. Fire alarms that go off in the middle of the night are the worst. I'd rather burn alive. Yeah, I had that a couple times. This building that I'm in, it has happened a few times since we've been here. But that's okay. I'm going to Vermont tomorrow. Good morning, all. Good morning, P-Man. Jevy, what's up, my man? Good morning. Smithereen. Morning, all. What's up, Daniel? Good morning, crew. We love it. Bud. Morning, morning. Morning, morning. Joe. David. Hope you're doing great. Slarty. Slarty's back. Finally, back on time. What's up, Slarty? Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Buongiorno, Bitcoiners. Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Not from Lampedusa, I bet. I don't think we have anyone here from Lampedusa. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to hear how things are going there, though. All right. So we got a massively dark and cloudy morning, but that's okay. The sun is up. I think we're getting the spray off of that Lee thing, but that's fine. Bitcoin is running just fine. So all that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. The Moscow time is extra special today. It could change your life. Moscow time is so great. You might be a different person after this, right? Who knows? I mean, they're usually good, but today's even better. So, Chicago, everyone's struggling with grocery prices, and it's not just the prices, it's the thieving, right? Because, you get all these stores that are getting robbed all the time, and robbing, I guess, is just okay now. No one's really stressed out about it, except the people going out of business. So, a lot of these grocery stores have left Chicago and other cities. And Chicago has a plan, though. Don't worry about it. Grocery stores going out of business. Chicago's mayor says they're going to open up some city-run grocery stores. So yeah, just going to get a little. Things are going great. We're going to have some little government-owned food distribution. Right, it's going to be awesome. This one's really good. This is from our favorite NBC. Right, we love NBC. Right, so sore throat, then congestion. Common cold symptoms follow a pattern now, doctors say. Common COVID symptoms follow a pattern now, doctors say. Doctors say that they're finding it increasingly difficult to distinguish COVID from allergies or the common cold from allergies, even as hospitalizations tick up. This one's great. This is one of the Chirons yesterday on CNN, and it was with, what's his name again? The guy who wrote that ridiculous book, Enemy of the People. What's his name again? He was always fighting with Trump, and now he has his own show. I only have his face here. I don't have his name, but he's one of the worst. So the Chiron below it was so he's there with two guests, right? They're experts and scholars. So here's the Chiron. Scholars warn outdated U.S. Constitution has put democracy at risk. It was a real Chiron, for real. The outdated Constitution. It's very outdated. Here's a good one from NBC again. Conspiracy theories about Russell Brand sexual assault allegations go viral with help from Musk. Conservative internet figures have followed Russell Brand's lead, using conspiracy theories to attack the allegations. and have found a largely friendly audience on platforms that have backed away from content moderation. This is part of the whole belief that Russell Brand has been preparing for his Me Too thing for like 8 years now. And the whole point of his life has been to make conservative friends because they'll side with him if ever the rape allegations come out. That's what they're going with here. That's the story. He's been doing this for years. Now, he's in trouble, right? But he's not the only so-called journalist, truth sayer in trouble. Biden's worried about all of them, he says, right? So it turns out that the Biden admin is going to shell out $5 million to give journalists trauma-informed support if they're getting trolled. Okay, so if Russell Brand is out there getting trolled, right, that and people he can't make money anymore. YouTube has banned his monetization. He's got to go on Rumble all the time now. Oh, by the way, I did run it successfully, the show yesterday, on Zapstream. So if you guys want to go to Nostr, you can actually watch this now on Nostr. And I made some sats yesterday. Someone was kind enough to send a few sats over to the Breakup, which we appreciate, right? We don't need the sats, to live. It's just a few sats, but it feels good. We like the stimulation. Good dopamine hit. Loved it. That's one way to handle getting trolled, right? But you can also go ask Biden for the $5 million for trauma-informed support. This one's good. So this is a continuation of what we talked about yesterday. This was the Hunter Biden is suing the IRS story. He got it just in time for Moscow time yesterday. So now there's a little more detail. Hunter Biden sues IRS, alleges that agents tried to target and embarrass him. Okay, they can't embarrass you, Come on, like everyone's allowed to claim prostitutes on their taxes, right? That's no big deal. This one's also good. They got all the migrants coming into America. They're all over New York. The mayor has said the city is going to fail if it continues. And the folks over there, especially the socialist wing. So that there was a copy of AOC, but for the New York House, and it's a girl who I can't remember her name, but she was my state senator. I can't remember. She was completely involved in like scams, I think, with baseball players or something like that. So she is also one of these Democrat socialists like AOC. So the New York state senators, there's a few of them that are Democrat socialists, not pure socialists. They have an idea. The Democrat socialists want to hit New Yorkers with migrant taxes. So New Yorkers, you might get a great old migrant tax coming soon. That should clear it all up, right? You should have no more problems. Once the migrant tax is in there, you're going to be fine. Tommy asks, can you post your Nostr pub in the YouTube show notes, please? I sure can. Yeah, I sure can. I can do that. Thanks, Tommy. Oh yeah, with the migrant tax. So, but at least they have a home, right? At least the ones in New York are going to get homes now with their migrant taxes, right? That'll help them get off the streets. That should be good, right? That should be good for those guys. But yesterday, so our theme today is actually related to that, the homes of these people, right? Where are people going to live? All these people coming to America. You see the Lampedusa island in Italy. It's an island with like 6,000 or 7,000 people. And then about a week ago, or almost a week ago, boats showed up with more migrants from Africa than there are people on the island. They came with like 8,000 migrants, all men. And there's only like 6,000 people on the island. Now, it's almost impossible to believe the pictures you're seeing from the island. Some of them look real. It looks like a lot of images are being taken from other migrant situations that have happened over the years. Community Notes sort of tagging a bunch of them. One of them that hasn't been tagged yet is unbelievable. It's a guy who got who's barbecuing a cat on the street. And the Italian owner of the cat is coming to scream and curse at him. He's like, what do you mean? What's the problem here? Right? Just cooking up a cat. What am I supposed to do? I'm hungry. So who knows if that's from this time or another time, or most of them end up getting Community Note, attached to the thread. There was one where the police were getting attacked. That's been proven fake, but it doesn't look like things are going great there. And again, we were talking about yesterday, they have a 10-point plan. There's a 10-point plan to get them off now. So Maloney, who's a big disappointment. What a shame, huh? So Maloney's there, and Ursula, the European Union head, the president of the European Union, comes down, and they come up with a 10-point plan, to get people off an island. Like, I got a 2-point plan: get the people, take them off the island. 1 second here. Oh, go tell mommy. Go tell mama. So the my wife's not feeling so great this morning, so I've been trying to take care of the kids simultaneous. So there might be another interruption, but we'll see. We should be okay. But that was the main story that had the Lampedusa one. Interesting, but that's not what got my attention. The theme we have today is CIA Citadels, then Bitcoin Citadels. But it turns out the Daily Wire did an investigation in Texas and found a city that doesn't even appear really on maps. It's brand new. It came out of nowhere. And it brings up a lot of questions, but I'll tell you what's going on. So there's a city down there. Real Daily Wire sent a fellow named Spencer Lundquist. And Spencer Lundquist went down there and found out that a city, like not a great city, right? It's a kind of a trailer park town, but new, so not that bad. But it's a third world city right here in Texas with thousands of illegal aliens in it. So Spencer Lundquist went down there and flew a helicopter over it. He's got a bunch of images. It's 40 miles north of Houston. It's nearly the size of DC as far as surface area, and 75,000 people live there. The developer Trey Harris gives illegals direct home loans so they don't need social security numbers. It is also full of gang activity and has become a strategic hub of the Gulf and Sinaloa cartels. The report says the population could reach 200,000 people soon. But you're wondering, how do the people buy the houses? That's the first thing I said. How do people buy houses if they can't borrow money and they have no social security number? Well, we'll get into that in a second. Let's just read Spencer's actual posts here because they're pretty interesting. So he says, have you heard about America's largest illegal immigrant settlement that's said to be a hub of cartel activity? I visited Colony Ridge for Daily Wire to learn about a development that's home to 40 to 75,000 people, and it's in the midst of rapid expansion. Here's what I found. It sprawls across 60 square miles. It's 40 miles north of Houston. Much of Colony Ridge is a third world shanty town where foreign flags outnumber American ones. How do you know it's a hotbed for illegal aliens? Let me show you. Colony Ridge goes by Terranos Houston on Instagram, where marketing materials are entirely in Spanish. Here's a post where they tell buyers to own land in Estados Unidos and reach out on WhatsApp, an app tailored for international communications. And it gets worse. For a company allegedly selling American real estate to Americans, they seem to have a lot of foreign nationals in Latin America working for them. Check out their LinkedIn profile. Why would Colombians sell American land to Americans? Here's where it gets serious. So he's still missing some of the point here, and we're going to get to it because luckily Mike Benz looked into it. Developer Trey Harris admits this Center Square article that buyers can purchase lands with ITINs. So we've talked a few times. This is some of the Wizard of Oz stuff, like a straw man, using a straw man as a birth certificate collateral analogy, or a tin man. So some people said straw man, some people said tin man. Tin man is similar to the ITIN man. So this is Wizard of Oz, birth certificate scam, related to that story. So, going on about the ITIN numbers and how you can use those as a powerful tool, but that still is fine, right? Like, I don't have a problem with ITINs being scammed by people to buy stuff, right? It's the same as a social security number. So if that was really the problem, I would say, who cares, right? Some farm hands coming and borrowing money on an ITIN, which anyone can get, and then I don't really care about that. But that's not really what's happening, right? That doesn't really look like what's happening. Trey Harris, the developer, is a big political donor, right? So he's a big political donor. He gave all kinds of people, hundreds of thousands of dollars. A few other people, small amounts, like not enough to corrupt you, 10,000, 1,000, but he's very involved, right? So the fact that he's involved, starts to give you a sense of what's going on. And Mike Benz, who has really sort of illuminated my own understanding of what's going on with all of this stuff, and has given me way more perspective in understanding how the actual machine works, right? So Mike Benz, to me, looks like one of the most up-to-date sleuths on what the CIA is doing. And in the end, what this ends up looking like is exactly like a CIA Citadel, and I'll explain. So Mike Benz says the following: my reflexive spit take on this entire Colony Ridge City thing is probably been an arrangement reached between the DoD, CIA, and the DOJ and the Houston partnered Mexican cartels who protect and prop up U.S. energy interests in Mexico. And this is just a Mexico version of community settlements made of similar LATAM Department of Defense resistance proxies, right? So that's what he's saying. And he says, and to me, the first thing I said when I read, I didn't know Mike Benz had comment on this first. The first thing I saw of it was coming out of the Daily Wire, and I said, follow the money here. Once you understand the money, you'll understand how this colony, this third world colony in Texas was created. So where does the money come from? Who's buying these things? Who's financing it? Because again, he says these are like cash loans. He's doing it outside of the banking system. So here's what Mike Benz, who picked up exactly on this and followed the money and found out where it heads. And he says, the Tell here is a real estate developer with deep local political ties as an intermediary for vast enterprise with huge touch points at national security and the Department of Justice level. This exact role, per Pete Bruton, was played by Houston real estate developer Walter Mischer to intermediate CIA deals with LATAM in the 1980s. And so he brings up a YouTube video here that you can watch called The Mafia, the CIA, and George Bush Discussion, 1992, under the Mob Facts YouTube channel. And there's another one. Yeah, so that's the same one. It's the Mob Facts one, yeah. And he finally found a 3-hour version. So there's another 3-hour version of The Mafia, the CIA, and George Bush. 1992, investigative reporter Pete Bruton discusses the relationship between failed savings and loans, organized crime, and the CIA. So he found a 3-hour version. Anyway, listen to this, and if you're interested, you will have alarm bells knocking your brain around like a pinball in terms of similarities of that Houston developer story to the Daily Wire Houston developer story above. And he goes on, Mike Benz, it's almost like the CIA's Yankee cowboy corporate benefactors at the Atlantic Council have been aiming to revive the Grand Transit gas to Ukraine to profit from Iran gas through Houston-owned Azerbaijan. Stop me if this sounds familiar. So he's relating all of this Texas stuff, again, over to what's going on in Iran with the money coming out. So even the whole Iran case, he says that's all flow through to Azerbaijan, other places, and Moldova and all these other places, right? So it looks like the scam goes, about as deep as you can imagine, right? He does get into some of the follow the oil and outflows and stuff too, right? He says follow the oil and gas flows out of Iran very closely over the next 6 to 12 months. Follow which foreign countries and companies get in first. Identify each domestic group that is partnered with those foreign entities, and that will tell you the story of what really happened this week, and that has to do with the Iranian money coming out, which is somehow related to everything going on in Mexico. What? I mean, it makes sense, right? Now, all of this, to me, when you compare it to something amazing that happened last night, right? So this is the simulation winking. So what I see here is an actual CIA Citadel. Like, this is what they look like, right? We talked yesterday a lot about having fentanyl off the books, and that's why the military isn't even bothering with the poppy fields in Afghanistan anymore. This creates the black money that you need, the off the books money that you need to run these ops. The ops are getting bigger and bigger. You need more and more money, which is why fentanyl is flooding the United States. So I'm absolutely filling in the blanks with narrative bias here. All right. So what I'm saying here, I think the accuracy tolerance is directionally true, but I'm definitely missing details. Right. So I'm 100% filling in the blanks. 100%. Right. So this is some speculation. So you get the dark money that comes from the fentanyl that can't be tracked, right? We had people talking about it in the chat yesterday. We were talking about it in the chat. So you have that money. You can use that money to run all kinds of ops, right? You can pay people here, pay people there. You can, that's how you get the money off the books to hire all of these academics, right? The academics, that's one of the great things that Mike Benz has been doing. He's been identifying all of these different groups around the world that scam their credentials, right? That say that they're partnered with this academic institution, but really in each case they're completely fake and are really just cutouts, right? They are references that the CIA can use to information launder whatever point of view that they're trying to get across. So you go and you buy an academic, and the academic says, I'm an expert, this is what we need to do. And then everyone cites them, and then that's the story, right? So there's all kinds of people like this. And Mike Benz is probably one of the best at identifying who they are. You can usually see the tells, right? It's the Center for Democracy. It's basically anyone who's involved in the misinformation business. Anyone who's there to be a fact checker is really the opposite. They are absolutely the opposite. They're there to make sure you don't know what's going on. And that's how this machine works. And it costs money. You got to pay these people, right? So that was what I thought was interesting. But going back now to the, and here's a great example. Here's a great example. So he's been bringing up the Peter Hotez. You know, Peter Hotez, the unhealthy doctor guy that refuses to debate against RFK, that was running all kinds of, science can't be debated, right? The guy who wears his lab coat in his house when he goes on TV. So Mike Benz brought this up yesterday because you get Peter Hotez pushing his new book. He's got a new book out now, right? The Deadly Rise of Anti-Science, right? The Deadly Rise of Anti-Science. And Mike Benz asks, hey, why is the CIA's most famous proprietary media asset? So in the picture of Peter Hotez advertising his new book with his ridiculous, his face, you know, with that stupid face he's always doing. So he's there and, you know, trying to push his new book, right? So he's there. Anti-science has become a signature platform of extremist or authoritarian regimes and deadly consequences of this for global health. But if you look in it, it's got the actual logo of Voice of America. Now, Voice of America, we've mentioned before many times, that was the one that was explicitly banned from being broadcast and used in America until Obama changed the rules about domestic use of psychological operations and propaganda. And Voice of America was explicitly banned from being broadcast in America because it was psyops. And so there he is, imagine, with his face, right? I'm a Peter Hotez, and sitting there in front of a Voice of America sign. So Mike Benz, you know, calls bullshit. And he says, hey, why is the CIA's most famous proprietary media asset, which was operated directly by the CIA for its first 30 years and which was authorized to launder knowingly false news stories and intelligence agency propaganda into foreign countries, promoting Peter Hotez's new book tour? They're not even trying. It's not even trying, right? So now, I say all of that because I wanted to get back to the simulation wing. That's what Mike Benz has been talking about. That's the cutout. This is the formula used, more or less. That's the money. It's the psyops. It's the dark money. It pays Peter Hotez. It also funds the CIA Citadel north of Houston, where all of these people can live and all of these people can help, you know, commute. You know, you just say the little human smuggling, drug dealing commute, little human trafficking commuter residency, right? A little bedroom community for people across the border. And, you know, in case those pesky coyote missions across the border leave you a little tired, right? You gotta have a little help. So that's what's going on. But here's the funny thing. Here's the simulation wink. So the simulation wink is yesterday's show was all about how the news has become so absolutely ridiculously funny that you can't help but laugh at it all the time. And I've been suggesting for a while that indeed comedians might be the weapon most appropriate to win World War III, because the best thing we can do, absolutely the best thing we can do, is laugh at the Peter Hotez. There's nothing these people can do if we laugh at them, right? And their lies have become so absurd that the actual only answer is to laugh. If you try to argue with Peter Hotez, what are you going to get? You're going to get that stupid face with his stupid mustache and full of soup, full of food, full of gross shit, right? He's never going to see reality. He's never going to argue with you. He's as unhealthy a person as you can get mentally, spiritually, whatever, right? He went right on Joe Rogan and lied like he was a little child, like he was a little innocent, goofy nerd, right? No, he is a CIA cutout, right? This is not a friendly little geeky scientist. This guy needs the biggest wedgie from space. He needs a wedgie from space and then dropped, right? That's what we got to do. We got to put him on a rocket from his underwear and then fly him up to space with the full thrust of a rocket wedgie and then drop him because he's that big of a nerd and a loser, right? We missed something by not bullying people like this, right? That's how this thing happened. So here he is out there doing that. Now, here's the good news, right? Here's the good news. Yesterday, we did it all on comedians, making fun of these people, wedgies, dropping them from space. That's probably all we need, right? And we got a lot of material to laugh at. The material's not going to end. It's going to keep coming. So what ends up happening yesterday when I make a whole show about laughing at the F-35 and the clown world that we're in, it looks like Louis C.K. has been orange pilled. He shared an image of himself yesterday with the laser eyes. So we got one of the greatest comedians now who's joined our team, right? So I said it yesterday, what a simulation link, because I did the show literally on that. And then who shows up? But, you know, one of the greats, right? So he starts off, right? He goes, okay, you Bitcoin people are relentless. I appreciate the hustle. I'll bite. Let's just pretend all currency converted to Bitcoin. Nice job. Now you own half a Bitcoin total and are renting an apartment and getting paid a normal salary of 2 Bitcoin a year. You would like to buy a house one day, but the only houses people are willing to sell you are for at least 22 Bitcoin. The only way you can buy is if you borrowed Bitcoin from someone and paid Bitcoin interest, and you do it at 5% interest. You also lose your job later, and then to keep things afloat, someone offers you a Bitcoin credit card at 15% interest. You have no choice. Question: what makes this different than our current economy? Now, the good news is, how many Bitcoiners have thought about this 1,000 times? We've been thinking about this for years now. And who shows up in there but Tur de Meester, right? Tur de Meester, probably one of the original analysts in the whole space. I've known Tur for years. You know, there was a handful of us that were close enough skill-wise to be actual sort of Wall Street analysts back in those days. And so we all knew each other by name. It was like Willy Woo and Tur, and there was only a handful. Chris Berniski, who worked directly for Kathy Wood, and all of these people. So we all knew each other. We all chatted. We were all friends. Spencer Bogart with Blockchain Capital. So there was only a couple of them, right? So I've known Tur for a long time. One of the smartest people you'll ever meet in life, right? He's like one of the smartest humans on planet Earth, I think, anyway. You know, I've even said that Richmond, north of Richmond, the reason I even knew it was going to be popular is because he called its popularity the day it was released and was one of the first people to retweet it, predicting it would have cultural implications. So just think about this, right? So Tur de Meester, before anyone had seen it, I still have the screenshot from making the notes. When I saw it that day, Tur's retweet had, you know, the video had been seen in the tens of thousands, the music video, right, of Richmond, north of Richmond. He wrote about it, maybe we're going to change culture with this. Right, so just to give you a sense of his ability to predict and to analyze the world as it comes at him, right? So this is what he says in response to Louis C.K.'s question. Yes, let's run these numbers in a Bitcoin economy. In my scenario, our family is able to purchase the home after 10 years of saving. So this family has 0.5 BTC in savings and earns 2 Bitcoin a year. I'm imagining them as young. Keep in mind, homes in 2023 are way too expensive because 50 years of everyone's use them as a piggy bank to stay protected from inflation. Let's say the house to income ratio under a Bitcoin standard is 5, so a nice house is 10 Bitcoins, slowly declining over time due to Bitcoin's natural deflation. Another thing that's different, to finance their home, our family will not use a bank mortgage, but will borrow against the collateral of their house, plus their life insurance policy. Yes, life insurance. This will be an industry which sees a major revival under a Bitcoin standard. Life insurance was extremely popular in the US, UK gold standard times until inflation poisoned the industry in favor of deposit banking. So what he says is, finally, just one more thing. Because of Bitcoin's natural deflation, by analogy with the gold standard, the purchasing power of our family's income gradually goes up every year, allowing them to commit a bigger cut to their life insurance policy. The built-up cash balance of their life insurance policy also earns a moderate amount of interest, 2 to 3%, as it is invested in conservative Bitcoin-denominated bonds. So here are the numbers. And by the end, the house is very inexpensive, right? So he says, in year 10, our family goes to their life insurance company and asks for a loan. The terms are thus: cash up front, right, this and that. And he says, from now on, they own a home and pay about 2% of the loan's value per month, which amounts to 0.6 Bitcoin per year. That's achievable by taking 7 years to stop contributing to the life insurance policy and by the fact that the family no longer needs to pay rent. An alternative scenario is that the family keeps on saving for another 10 years, which would allow them to borrow less, and the collateral would be a much easier time to paying off the loan. But it shows more or less what Michael Saylor has been talking about corporate balance sheets, right? And about the power of putting Bitcoin on the corporate balance sheet. It's something that we've seen for a long time now, that these things are really beneficial, and they completely change how you even think about running a company and your decisions, right? So, but that's what we're getting into with Bitcoin, right? We're getting into changing people's minds and opinions about stuff that looks logical today, but the logic has actually created these problems and isn't, like paying taxes. Like, it sounds like a great idea, let's pay taxes, but sooner or later you end up funding Mexican third world colony towns and CIA Citadels in America without any accountability of what's going on. And that's the realization. So that, Louis C.K. started debating, you get Turdemeester to come in, and then he actually says, okay, I'm convinced. So Louis C.K. comes out and says, oh, it's a parody account. Oh no, I didn't know it was that. It's a parody account. Said he deleted his account last year, which had 8 million followers. Dang. And I guess it does say not Louis C.K., right? Well, I got it wrong. That's he is a master debater. Oh, well, too bad. Okay, well, then I was wrong about that. He's got a subscription. I mean, do we know for sure if it's fake? I guess so, yeah. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad. That's too bad. Well, anyway, that's the discussion that ensued, and the replies were really valuable, and plenty of no corners will also be fooled by the account. I'm surprised I got fooled. It looked legit. It really looked legit. So anyway, he says in the end, yes, I'm convinced. Let's do it. Switch all the currency to Bitcoin or anything with finite amount. No more money printing allowed. Just imagine if the government could not send money to other countries for endless wars unless we cut something else. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were out of money to spend, right? Twitter will not... Twitter will not do that to you. Yeah. I guess I got rolled. The only way to get more people would be to take it from the American people on their taxes. I bet we would take all the voting a little more seriously if our representatives had to be responsible with our money. Well, I guess there you go. My wife was like, I don't know. Yeah, well, sorry about that, guys. I normally don't get confused and I guess you can say rolled by these things, but there you go. Well, anyway, the point is that the finance model of Bitcoin Citadels is a lot better than the finance model for CIA Citadels, and they're going to have to keep selling, I think, way more of the fentanyl to fund this stuff, because what we see, for example, with the House now, there's a debate about whether they're going to keep funding the House. And normally, I don't think this is a big deal, right? I remember what I said last time, the debt ceiling thing. I was like, they're never going to do it. Just ignore. We might be in that scenario again, but it looks like you're finally getting the debates. And you're getting a debate in particular between Gates and Byron Donalds, because it looks like they're fighting over the agreements they made last June about funding the government or not. So things are starting to get, probably very different. This is what we know, right? That Byron Donalds says this agreement will secure the border, cut government spending, no money to Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. But Matt Gaetz says that the cut only lasts for 30 days, right? So they only get a 30-day cut. The border policy will be ignored by Biden, so they're just going to keep letting people in. The funds, it also funds the election, the Jack Smith investigation. And Matt Gaetz says, this is a terrible bill, lumping the funding of disparate agencies of government into one bad vote. This isn't what we fought for in January. It's the opposite. I guess it was in January, the debt ceiling thing, or whatever. Oh, no. Yeah. So what they're talking about here is the vote for chair that McCarthy won, not the debt ceiling thing. And they were supposed to be able to control the purse strings and make sure that the government isn't funded by the legislative branch and the Democrats, because they control the power of the purse. They were supposed to use it, right? So Matt Gaetz very disappointed, and I think I would say in some ways I don't really see the upside of what Byron is talking about here, and I would not. My instinct is Matt Gaetz is one of the smartest people in Congress and one of the most strategic thinking people in Congress. I entirely blame Ron DeSantis's fall from Matt Gaetz saying, I'm not working with you anymore. I'm going to go back to Trump now that Trump is reemerging as a presidential candidate. So I think that DeSantis got like a year and a bit worth of Gaetz as a Florida congressman whispering in the ear of the Florida governor about all the smart things and strategic, clever things he can do. And I think at a certain point that connection went away. And you can see it replaced by the old Jeb Bush infrastructure. It looks like DeSantis is getting advice from these Houston people. Doesn't look like he knows the difference, right? So that's what I'm seeing out there. And this funding argument, I think anyway, will force. I mean, we'll be able to see, just like Mike Benz is saying, right? If this funding issue comes in, you're going to see actually more border activity, way more. You're going to see way more fentanyl, way more of these really dangerous off-book money situations. Maybe more CIA Citadels, right? It sounds like they've been doing this for a while and they've got a blueprint and they know exactly how to distribute them and get them out there. So we'll see. But the even ability of the CIA to keep financing these things, right? We see that maybe the purse strings are going to be gone, so you got the drug thing, but in general, the financial sector as well. When you start looking at the now the repo rate number is way down, right? So the repo rate number is down because the banks are out there trying to buy T-bills. There's been a huge issuance of T-bills now. And the buyers aren't lining up like they once did. They can't go to the foreign buyers. That's why the repo market stuff is down. They're trying to, hide another little kind of manipulation, right? But now you got the strike, right? You got the strike, the auto workers strike. You've got the Hollywood strike. I think you're going to start getting more and more government agencies that strike. Basically, the government isn't used to dealing with collective bargaining and negotiating. This has been years of them never doing that, right? They're 30 years out of practice, 40 years out of practice with collective bargaining. And it looks like most of these things are going to change. So Craig Shapiro says the following: with the UAW auto worker strike, the potential for the Kaiser Permanente healthcare strike, federal government employees locking in a 5% wage growth in 2024. The Fed is staring down the barrel of a wage/price spiral dynamic that they haven't modeled for because collective bargaining power resuming hasn't been the base case for a generation. Rising oil prices are adding fuel to the fire for resumption of headline inflation momentum as well. I know most view Powell as a volatility dampener, but I see him more as continuing to buy time to get to mission completed on inflation. When volume is too high and markets are at risk, yes, he is a volume seller. However, when the volume is low and blah, 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 right? So it looks like, and this is what Jeff Ross, a great Bitcoiner, is saying, what I'm watching, while the Fed officially continues its quantitative tightening program, the overnight reverse repo agreement market is down a whopping $1 trillion since the start of 2023, absorbing the bulk of the Treasury's recent T-bill issuance. Hence, U.S. net liquidity remains in a solid sideways crab-like channel since late 2022. So, I mean, that I think is what we're looking at, right? Oh yeah, this one's good. So, follow the money, right? Of all this CIA stuff and what's going on. So Zelensky yesterday had a tweet, and he says that 86 leading defense companies from 21 countries have already confirmed their participation in Ukraine's first defense industries forum. So it's like a conference. It's like the Bitcoin 2024, but it's going to be in Ukraine, and it's only going to be for guns and weapons. So it's like the opposite of the Bitcoin show, right? The event will help Ukraine's defense industry integrate with those of our NATO allies and other partners, ramp up production, and establish new high-tech partnerships. Is he going to model his new military industrial capacity. Have you heard about it? Have you heard Ukraine's military industrial capacity? What they've been building? They've been turned into an actual military manufacturing powerhouse of one type of weapon in particular. Wooden decoys. They make wooden decoy guns in Ukraine now, like the best. So they get people to bomb and waste their weapons when they create fake weapons that the Russians think are real. So they'll send some bombs to destroy them, right? There you go. So there you go. All right, let me see some of these comments, and then they should call it the death conference. Yeah. They should. It's like completely the opposite of our show. Completely the opposite of our show. All right. So I'm going to see some of these comments, and then I'm going to have to go a little shorter today. I made, that was a lot of my notes. I thought Louis C.K. was real. Is the immigration crisis caused by incompetence, or are the elites actively trying to change demographics and replace the current population? The George Soros thing. If there was anyone capable of even defending him, I would probably listen to the defense at least. But it doesn't look possible. And so the only frame, here's look, I struggle to believe that a few people can do this stuff, but I'll tell you one thing. I worked in a factory years ago, while I was a law student, or before law school, pardon me, in my undergrad. And there were a bunch of Romanians who worked in the factory with me. And these were Romanians who grew up in, Soviet Romania, right? They grew up under the Iron Curtain and in that time. And they lived through the fall of communism and then moved to Canada and all this. This is really interesting people, like kind of elites of Romania of their time, right? Olympic athletes and really neat people. And they believed a lot of this top-down stuff, right? Rothschild-y business. And what they said, and that I didn't believe them, obviously, but it never left me that America would be purposely degraded and replaced because basically Christian people are too difficult to control, was their actual opinion, right? And they were only 10 years removed from communism at the time, so they were certain of it. And I was like, come on, no one's going to degrade America. This is like 1990s, 2000s America. This is pre 9/11. So I'm like, no way, it'll never happen, right? It's not possible. And look, we're on schedule for what they predicted. So I don't know the answer to that. If it is elites, it is literally the smallest cadre of people, because that's the only way to do it. It isn't if your question is elites, like people in the U.S. government in like normal roles, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, none of these people are aware of what's going on. They've been brainwashed and manipulated and psyoped and are doing evil things without knowing it. That's the easier solution and the easier way to understand this. It is incompetence and the inability to see how you're being used. Now, is Soros behind it? I mean, it's hard. Like you don't want to believe it because it's too easy. But what other explanation can there be for what he does? I'll listen to anything, right? If you can't get one explanation or one person defending him, letting the criminals out and making America, like it looks like the point is to destroy America. There's no other way that I can imagine it. Like deliberately. So is it true? It's hard to see otherwise, but you got to leave your mind open to see otherwise nevertheless, right? I don't think we can live with certainty around this stuff. I think you have to apply a certain amount of quantum potential to understanding this stuff. And you have to have a pretty wide band in which you can accept the possibilities. Because in the end, it doesn't actually matter, right? It's got to end. It's got to stop. And so who's causing it or what's causing it? In the end, I think Bitcoiners, we understand that it's the manipulation of money. Who is manipulating the money? We don't need to find out. Like in the sense that it's interesting and it might help convince people, but that's the only use of it. In the end, we wouldn't want to make that, like, understanding that stuff before we replace the money with Bitcoin is immaterial and a waste of time. So I try not to get too bogged down on it, right? It's not it is definitely not Bilderberg, right? It's a scam. Some of the WEF people, who knows, but I'm not worried about WEF either, right? But Soros is totally another story, right? So doesn't look like a cool guy, right? Smash the like button, we love it. Give us the likes. Going deeper, we're trying. Yeah, we're trying. Yeah, we were talking about Peter Hotez's space drop, Jeffy, for sure. But what I want to do is the wedgie to space. Like I want to tie his underwear onto the rocket and see if you can rocket power a wedgie up and then drop him. You know, I would want like a leather belt underwear for him too. That would be great. On the side of a rocket. Hey, even if, yeah, like a true atomic wedgie, like a rocket wedgie, like an actual rocket pulls the pants up. You know, put them on a rope or something. I would just want to see it. I would tune in. We're going to attach someone's underwear and give them a rocket wedgie and shoot the rocket. And he's on a rope, so the rocket's already like 200 feet in the air, so he doesn't get burned, right? And then all of a sudden, whoop! I could be down. I would watch. Right. Taken to the logical conclusion, Bitcoin would seem to be the perfect cash laundering vector and accounting service for very low transaction fees. Yeah. Yeah. We love cash laundering. He and Fauci do go together. Yeah. You like where my head is at. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so the handle past the check mark because it's fiat. Okay, so from now on, we read the handle past the check mark because it's fiat. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my mistake. Death conference. Death 2024. Yeah. Bitcoin begins. Yeah. Everything excellent. Thanks, man. My friend and I pick up 2 rich Romanian hitchhikers when we were driving to Montreal. Wow, Johnny, that might have been them. That was around that time. Bitcoin begins everything good in life. Yeah, financial sovereignty. No kidding, kind of weird. Yeah. Make sure it's a really Michelin tire wedgie. Yeah, rocket wedgie. Rocket powered Michelin tire wedgie. Rocket powered wedgie. That's what we want, guys. A rocket powered wedgie. What's he saying here? Wedgie space drops would be so much more fun if we know who. Well, it's got to be people we know. Ultimate wedgie solution. Yeah. When is the next Fed watch? I don't know. Extremely peaceful. They won't be broadcast on Bitcoin Magazine's channels, though. I will be doing it with Ansel anyway, because Ansel owns the show. But Ansel Linder is going to be doing his own version of it now. He's still writing for Bitcoin Magazine, but we're going to be doing our own content. So I think he did it alone last week. And then there'll be a show in 2 days. I'm not sure if I'm invited. But he says like once a month I'll do the show at least with him. So we're still going to do it. I just don't know what his plans are. I'm the biggest Fed Watch fan, so it should be good. Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, best macro pod you know. I appreciate that. Extremely peaceful. I'm gonna keep that up so Ansel maybe sees it. Yeah, I'm a big fan, and we're definitely gonna be doing it. And I'll let you all know when. It won't be in 2 days. I have to paint. I have to paint the Hotez atomic wedgie. Yeah, he's got to be like falling from the rocket. Do it, Tommy. It's gonna be the best. It's going to be the best. Hotez atomic wedgie. Yeah. But a real atomic wedgie. I want a rocket. The real thing. So we will be getting we will be doing it. And thanks for, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a fan. Yeah, I think the Bitcoin Magazine channels, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but we'll be doing FedWatch on our own. So there you go. We're fans. Okay, everyone, that's all I got for today because of my getting fooled by Twitter. Not as much as a simulation wink as I hoped. All right, team. I shall see you all tomorrow. Be good. Be good. We're going to be from here tomorrow, but we're leaving tomorrow to Vermont. And then we'll be in Vermont for like a week.